How's it going, everyone? Welcome to week 1 of the NFL season. My name is Steven Michaels. You are listening to the greatest Raiders radio show in the world. There is no one that even comes in second place. This is the Raiders Daily Podcast. Here we go. It is finally football season. We are here. We have arrived. It's the Raiders going to Carolina to take on the Panthers in week 1, which I always say every single year. Week 1 is very important. The reason why is because if you really look at it at the end of the season, most teams that have success for some reason at the end of the year win week 1. But at the same time, it's very hard to judge a team after week 1. So a lot of people, get on a hype train after week 1 just because they won a game. And, a lot of people are really down on a team if they lose week 1 and think the season's over. So it's like a double-edged sword. But I do think it's important, even if a team plays bad, to get that victory in week 1. Now, this is going to be, I think, a difficult task for the Raiders. The reason why is they are going to Carolina. They are not opening up at home. So that's going to be a factor right there. If they were opening up at home, I would say, the Raiders stand even a better chance of winning this football game. But because they're not, starting the season off at home, which, by the way, they should be. And this game is going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We know the Raiders have struggled, within the last, few years at playing at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Sometimes they just lay a huge egg, and then sometimes they can come out and pull off the victory. We just never know with this team. Remember, they beat Chicago with the returning Khalil Mack. I think that was last season, right? And that was an early game. Pretty much people thought Khalil Mack was going to make John Gruden look like an idiot. It turned out Khalil Mack was a non-factor, and John Gruden won the battle. So, you just never know these things. But this is going to be a very important game for the Raiders because I want to see the Raiders have chemistry. I want to see Derek Carr connect with these young wide receivers. I want to see, obviously, Henry Ruggs get involved. How much involvement will he have remains to be seen. We don't know. We don't know how many targets. He might only get 2 or 3 targets. You got to remember, the Raiders have Darren Waller on their team. They have Hunter Renfrow on their team. They have Nelson Aguilar, the alligator. So they got a bunch of guys that they can use, not to mention they have Josh Jacobs. And I think they're going to plan on running this ball a lot against this team. Yeah, I know the Panthers, they tried to get better in some areas. They drafted Derek Brown. I get it. They're starting a bunch of rookies, by the way, in this game. At least that's what they're saying. 4 rookies. They drafted a defensive end. Gross Matos, is that how you say his name? Jeremy Chin, who's a safety, is supposed to start. Even their 7th round pick is slated to start this game, and Tony Pride Jr. Now, I'm going to go into how I think the Raiders can win this game. If that's the case, if they're starting out like that, if Troy Pride, I'm sorry. If Troy Pride is going to start out this game as the starter at cornerback, this could be something that the Raiders target a lot. They're going to be throwing at this dude a lot in this game. There's no doubt about it. Now, we'll see if that ends up being the case here. But, man, I can't imagine. You got to go after the rookie, right? Now, yes, you can say the same thing for Carolina, as Damon Arnett more than likely will be the starter unless something crazy happens today. I'm doing a show a little bit early today, so something could happen during the day to get some kind of veteran cornerback, but it's kind of late, in the week. But it's really going to be interesting, too. Remember, this is Tahir Whitehead's revenge game against the Raiders. Remember, he plays for the Carolina Panthers now. He's going to want to make a big play. He definitely knows that playbook. I know John Gruden has to be a little creative here. So does Paul Gunther. Because, remember, Tahir Whitehead, he was a captain of the team, which goes to show you that it really doesn't matter who the hell a captain is on a football team, because that guy was terrible with the Raiders. But either way, he was a captain for your, at the time, Oakland Raiders. So he knows the Raiders playbook. He's given them notes. They got a new head coach from college, Matt Rule, and he is going to use any kind of knowledge he can get from Whitehead. So this is something the Raiders got to prepare for. This is why John Gruden gets paid the big bucks. Because this offense needs to score points. That's how you're going to win this game. And more importantly than anything else, what this game is going to come down to is the Raiders' defense. The Raiders need to slow down Christian McCaffrey. That's the only way they're going to win this game. I mean, this guy is pretty much, if you look at Carolina Panthers from last season when they won, 5 games, I believe? I could be wrong. They might have won only 4. I don't know. They weren't a very good football team. We all know that. This season, though, they do have Teddy Bridgewater, who will be the quarterback, a lot better than what they had. So Teddy Bridgewater played very good with the New Orleans Saints. Was that a fluke? We shall see. We're going to know. You know what I mean? A lot of people are going to be looking at Teddy Bridgewater in this game. Just like a lot of people will be looking at Derek Carr, which, I mean, in all fairness, we kind of know what Derek Carr is. You know what I mean? And he's just surrounded by better weapons. Whereas Teddy Bridgewater, he played on a team where, he didn't do too well. Then he got really injured. And then he kind of disappeared. He was a backup. And then he got a chance to play and looked great. But a lot of guys come off a bench, when their star quarterback gets injured and all of a sudden look fantastic and have a miracle season. Look at Nick Foles for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what I mean? Carson Wentz goes down, Foles goes in, Foles wins a Super Bowl championship. Look at Jeff, I mean, this is something that goes all the way back. Look at Jeff Hostetler, former Oakland Raiders quarterback. I mean, if you remember, this guy was a backup quarterback for the New York Giants. For you guys, some people were not old enough to remember this, but Phil Simms was the quarterback for the Giants. He gets hurt. Jeff Hostetler comes in. No one gave the Giants a chance. They go to the playoff. They're in the playoffs. He wins in the playoffs. He gets to the Super Bowl, and Jeff Hostetler wins. A backup quarterback, coming off the bench, wins the Super Bowl. That's one of the reasons why Al Davis went and got the guy. So, I mean, and then, after that, Jeff Hostetler, I always loved the Hoss, but it's not like he lit the world on fire. Look at Nick Foles. He's not lighting the world on fire, when he went elsewhere, when he played with the Chiefs, for example, or wherever else he went. He wasn't very good when he was being named the starter, but he was good in that system for the Eagles. Same thing with Jeff Hostetler with the Giants. So sometimes, make a long story short here, sometimes these guys who come off the bench and look good, when they're actually named the starter, sometimes they don't look so good. So that's what you got to keep your eyes on. Derek Carr, on the other hand, he has a whole bunch of new weapons to play with. He has Brian Edwards, who in camp has been lights out. He has Ruggs. Like I said, we'll see how much he's going to play, but how much is he going to play? How many targets will he get? You got Darren Waller. You got Renfro. You got the Alligator. Not to mention you feed the ball to Josh Jacobs. You got Zay Jones. You got so many guys that, like I said, if Derek Carr can make good decisions and get the ball out of his hands quickly, the Raiders should be able to move the ball off of this Carolina Panthers defense. They got a lot of rookies starting. Like I said, I know how John Gruden is, and if he is smart, he is going to attack that Carolina Panthers secondary. He is going to go after all of these guys. Like I said, right cornerback, look for that. Troy Pride. he is going to start this game. They're going to go after him. There's no doubt about it. They are going to go after these guys. Look at, the linebacker's position. I mean, if Chin is in there, they're going to go after him. They're going to run the ball up the middle. So it's going to be very, very interesting how they go about doing this. Jeremy Chin, like I said, he was drafted as safety, but it looks like they're going to use him more as an outside linebacker here. So we'll see how this all unfolds. And like they have another, like I said, four rookies will be starting for Carolina. 4. So, I mean, this is something John Gruden's got to take advantage of. But like I said, it comes down to the Raiders' defense. And it comes down to stopping one man. And his name is Christian McCaffrey. I don't care what their record said last season. Like I said, I think they won 5 games, I believe. I didn't even look it up. You want to know why? Because when I analyze a team, I'm not really looking at their wins and losses. I don't really care, to be honest, because it's an all-new season. Now, what I can take out of that film, for those who want to know how this works, is you can take players who played on that team last season and isolate them and see how they do in individual battles, and then go from there. That's the way I do it, especially this early in a season when we don't have a lot to go off of. For example, with Tahir Whitehead, I watched him with the Raiders. I watched some film with him with the Raiders, and I know that he's not really, he used to be, by the way. He had one good season where he was good against tight ends. When he was with the Raiders, not so much. Not to mention, he had a big problem tackling at times. So that's something the Raiders are definitely going to take advantage of. I mean, we can't really go by last season. And if we did, by the way, the Raiders are better. Total offense, the Raiders were ranked 11th in the NFL. And the Carolina Panthers were ranked 19th. But remember, no Teddy Bridgewater or anything like that. But when you just go and you look at Christian McCaffrey and what this guy was able to do, that's when you got to say, okay, all of these guys the Raiders have brought in, I'm talking about the whole new linebacker group they got, which they hopefully, on paper they got better. Hopefully it translates on the field. Because you got, Corey Littleton, you got Kwiatkowski, you just got Raekwon McMillan, you got Morrow still on the team. Their linebacker group is so much better this season that the tackling these guys got to be on point with this guy. Because this McCaffrey will kill you. He will burn you in every type of way. Running the ball, catching the ball. He's good at every aspect of football, basically. Think about it. Rushing touchdowns, okay? Christian McCaffrey last season had 15 rushing touchdowns. That's more than all of the Raiders running backs combined. Josh Jacobs had 7. DeAndre Washington had 3. Derek Carr had 2. Christian McCaffrey had 15. Rushing yards, Christian McCaffrey, 1,387. Josh Jacobs, we all know he had an awesome season last year. He had 1,150. And look at this. Carries. Josh Jacobs, right? He had a ton of carries. 242. Christian McCaffrey, 287. You just go up and down. It's Christian McCaffrey. Even receiving yards. I told you about the screen game. That's why Carolina's going to throw some screens. And these guys like Max Crosby, these new, from last season, he had a great year. But he's got to be ready for those. These linebackers, Corey Littleton, he's got to be ready for these type of things. If McMillan's in there, he's got to be, making sure things are all correct. People are lined up properly. Morrow, same deal. They got to make sure they are all on the same page because Christian McCaffrey will kill you running the ball and receiving the ball. This guy last year had 116 targets, Christian McCaffrey. 116 receptions. Okay? 116. And he went for over 1,000 yards receiving. You compare that to, let's say, Raiders, like I said, They didn't really have much last year. They had Darren Waller. Darren Waller had 1,145 yards catching the ball. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and he's a tight end. Christian McCaffrey gets 1,000. He was basically, 140 yards short than Darren Waller. And Darren Waller, in my opinion, is the best tight end in the National Football League. So, I mean, it's going to come down to that. But also, the Panthers, you got to remember, they did add a few weapons. And one of those weapons is someone who the Raiders really liked but wouldn't pay because they thought it was ridiculous. And that guy's name is Robbie Anderson. Remember, Robbie Anderson now plays for the Carolina Panthers. There's no doubt in my mind they are going to try throwing some deep balls to Robbie Anderson. This is what gets me nervous about the Raiders' own young secondary. Remember, I said the Raiders should target the Panthers' young secondary. They also should have run the ball a lot because they got a lot of young players on defense. Panthers pretty much are going to have the same game plan here if they're smart. And I think they will, by the way. Robbie Anderson is there for the speed. Also, remember, they have former Raider Seth Roberts. We all know how he can be. Up and down. Sometimes he can catch amazing passes out of nowhere because he goes unnoticed because, quite frankly, he can't get open all game. And then sometimes the guy plays like he's a top 10 wide receiver in the National Football League. The guy's so up and down, he's like a roller coaster. You just don't know with this guy. He'll catch a game-winning touchdown one week. The next week, he'll drop 4 passes or just disappear on the field. And no one even has to, guard him, really. No one has to cover him. I mean, that's one of the reasons that he got some game-winning touchdown passes, But I will tell you one thing about Seth Roberts. Even though I picked on him in the past and things like that. One thing he is really, really good at is running slants. Go back and watch all of the success that Seth Roberts has had when he was with the Raiders. Most of those passes were Derek Carr throwing a slant to Seth Roberts. He has excellent angles. His ankles are really good. He can turn really good. Very good feet as far as slants go. He can plant his foot really good. If you can plant your foot good like that, you could take a sharp angle. You're going to beat that cornerback or that safety or that linebacker, whoever is covering you. And he can do that pretty well. So that's where the Raiders DBs got to be ready. Because Seth Roberts does have speed too. There's no doubt about it. He has speed too, so they got to be ready. That's what concerns me about some of these young guys like a Damon Arnett and, you name them. Because this is their first game. And it also brings me to LaMarcus Joyner. It worries me. It does. That Seth Roberts can have a field day against the Raiders defense. Especially if they're not communicating right. And LaMarcus Joyner's out there. And Seth Roberts is blazing right by him for some reason on a slant. Raiders defense got to be ready. Paul Guenther needs to step it up. Paul Guenther, I already told you guys, he is entering this season on the hot seat. He has to prove to Gruden he is the defensive coordinator. He can turn around this defense with the right players. Now, I'm so sick of this whole rebuilding nonsense. The rebuilding is over, in my opinion. So if John Gruden says that today or Friday or whatever, he has 2 press conferences here, I don't want to hear it. Because to me, when I hear the word rebuilding, I hear excuses. You don't get paid that much money to say you've been rebuilding for 3-4 years now. I mean, this is stupid. This is the National Football League. The years of rebuilding are pretty much over. You need pretty much 1 year. That's it. That's all you really need. And you should be competitive that season. You don't need 4 years anymore to rebuild a football team. Not anymore. Technically, the year the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, they were rebuilding with Carson Wentz. So enough of that. John Gruden, even though Paul Guenther's on the hot seat, I am putting John Gruden on the hot seat. This guy's got to call better plays. He's got to be, in my opinion, This guy has to be more creative in his play calling. It is getting too simplified. I think his verbiage for plays is even a little too much, if you ask me. A Y2 Dallas car seat, blackjack 42 blue with a diamond is too long to say. Not just for Derek Carr, but for any quarterback. You gotta simplify things. You don't need to make it that tough. You really don't. But John Gruden is stuck in his ways of 1999, basically. 98, 2000, it's not like that anymore. These players are smart. Not to mention these players nowadays are bouncing the teams to teams, like a Tahir Whitehead. He was just with the Raiders. So if you're not changing things up, then you're screwed. And for the most part, remember that since these players bounce around, they pretty much know the play anyways. So it's all about, okay, we know the play, we know exactly what you're doing, but can you stop it? And then you bank on my wide receivers are going to beat your secondary. It's gonna be man to man, or if it's gonna be zone, I'm gonna bank on that. My running back is gonna chip block and get open, in space and take it for 13 yards. It's all about individual battles at this point in time, in my opinion, in the NFL, because most players on the opposite side of the ball nowadays know what the other team's going to do because there's so much turnover with players. And they can change the verbiage and things like that, but you can tell how the team is lined up. You can tell where the tight ends are going. You can tell who's going in motion. All of these type of things, trust me, they do it over and over and over and over again. If a player has played on that team before, they know exactly what play it is. But just because they know what play it is, doesn't mean you still can't win. If that player wins his individual battle, then you can win. But if you have a game plan where, hey, no matter what, we're throwing to this guy, number 88 in the flat, then guess what? The safety can just jump it every single time. That's what I mean by Derek Carr has to improvise a little bit. He's going to have to audible a little bit. He's going to have to take the game in his own hands a lot more this season if the Raiders are going to be successful. Also, we must remember, speaking of the Raiders' young secondary and LaMarcus Joyner, who I don't trust, Damon Arnett, unknown, Trayvon Mullen, we all know this guy jumped a lot of routes early last season. He's got to be careful. DJ Moore will make you pay for that. If you are jumping a route, DJ Moore will take it to the house. He has done it several times, and he will do it again on you. So I hope this is what the coaches have been telling these guys, this young secondary for the Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry. I'm still going to call them Oakland sometimes. It's just the way it's going to be. And don't pretend you don't say it either. Everyone's still going to say it. I guarantee you, on CBS, on 1 p.m. Eastern Time, you'll even hear Rich Gannon, who's calling the game, by the way, who's going to be in the broadcast booth, say the name of Oakland Raiders. It's just going to happen. He's going to slip up. Everyone does. So, don't blame me. So anyways, DJ Moore, this is a guy, he can beat people. He really can. So the Raiders are going to have to be careful of him. Like I said, they're full of speed, these guys. You know what I mean? But, you got DJ Moore, you got Curtis Samuel. They also got, I don't know if this guy's Farrah Cooper. Remember him for the Raiders? But anyways, it's really Robbie Anderson, Seth Roberts, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. Those are the guys you got to kind of watch out for. The tight end, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting with the Carolina's tight ends. What do they do here? Because they are saying, now this is what, on their depth chart, Carolina. Now remember, this really isn't an official depth chart, so even though they say it is, we don't know what's going to happen. But Chris Manhertz looks like he is going to start at tight end. Now, this is something the Raiders, the Raiders are going to have to account for. You know what I mean? This guy is probably going to get some passes thrown his way, especially with Teddy Bridgewater. They're going to have to really, really watch out for that guy. And that's the reason, by the way, the Raiders went out and sign guys like Corey Littleton, so he can cover these people. So hopefully, all of these linebackers they picked up in the offseason, it all pays off, because that's exactly what the Raiders are going to need to do. They're going to need to cover their tight ends, and they're also going to need to cover McCaffrey. There's no doubt about it. If he's running the ball, the Raiders need to get pressure on the inside. We've been hearing about pass rush, but they also need to get better at tackling. Tackling is going to be what all of you Raider fans need to do right now. If you're looking at this game and you want keys to victory, this is what I'm going to tell you right now, okay? You can write tackling and you can circle that, because that is what this game will come down to for the Raiders on defense. If they are tackling well, they will stand a chance to win this game. They must tackle well. And now, Gruden's been preaching this, by the way, throughout training camp, even though it's a short training camp. He's been preaching. They got to tackle better. He even called out LaMarcus Joyner about it, saying that guy's got to start tackling better. That's why it scares me. The whole team needs to start tackling better, but it all starts up front. So if they can get pressure and stop Christian McCaffrey, maybe in the backfield a couple times. Remember, they brought in Malik Collins. That's why. They think he's going to be a huge difference maker. Well, guess what? You guys at home, this guy better be a difference maker, because the coach is telling you he is going to be. It's been too long of this team losing. It's done. They're in a new city now. They're called the Las Vegas Raiders. You guys have been going through pain for years. It is time the Mark Davis puts a winning product on the field, and it is time the Raiders get the right players to do that. So, they finally did with the linebackers, so I'll give them credit with that. They've been abandoning that position now for the last, I don't know how many years, driving me crazy, giving me gray hairs over it, because it drives me nuts every single year. This season, they went ahead and they said, we are going to stack up at linebacker, and maybe we can shut this guy up with his stupid podcast. I'm sure that, that really didn't happen. But they said they needed to get better in linebacker, and they did do that, at least on paper. Now it's time to prove it on the field, because that's all I care about. Yes, it's fun when you hear the Raiders sign Littleton, Kwiatkowski, all these names. But if it doesn't translate on the field, then who gives a crap? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Now, remember, I haven't had a show since this happened. The Raiders did trade Lynn Bowden Jr. to Miami to get Raekwon McMillan. A lot of people are confused by that. I was sort of a little bit confused, but not really, and I'll tell you why right now real quickly. Bowden, here's the problem. Okay, first of all, yes, Mayock dropped the ball here. This is a third-round pick, correct? You don't trade a guy you just drafted in the third round. That you don't see that ever. So, he scouted this guy. He had his scouts look at this guy, and they end up trading him, without ever seeing him on the field on Sundays. Now, if this guy goes out and lights it up in Miami and is the next Tyreek Hill, the Raiders will be the laughingstock for the next who knows how many years. But the only thing I can say to you guys, to give you guys any kind of hope that that won't happen, is that Bowden was getting destroyed in camp. This guy looked like a child out there. Eric Harris nailed him one time so hard. Arden Key smashed him in the backfield. And remember, they weren't really, they're not out there really trying to kill each other or tackling. But it's just, this dude's so small that these guys, Eric Harris hit him with a shoulder. It was a shoulder tackle. And the guy went 3 feet. You know what I mean? Just flying through the air. The guy looked like a child out there. And he was coughing up the football. And the worst part about everything is every time they put him in the backfield, he couldn't block anyone. So basically, he would have got Derek Carr injured. Or he would have got the guy sacked. And maybe, we know when Derek Carr gets sacked, sometimes he drops the football. It would lead to turnovers. You can't. There's no way the Raiders could have went into this season and trusted this guy to be in the backfield by himself, to block at all, because it wouldn't happen. Because people were just throwing him around like a rag doll. I mean, even Kyle Wilbur was just throwing the guy around like a rag doll. And Kyle Wilbur, by the way, almost didn't make it, he got cut, and the Raiders brought him back. That's a whole nother saga that I talked about last night on the subscription podcast on the greatest place on earth, the Raiders Daily Elite, where you hear a lot better stuff. But anyways, that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, that's why the Raiders traded him. I know Vic Tavor did come out with that report about him having bad character issues. I don't know much about that. So, I'm just telling you what he said, but I do know like something small, and that's just that he did talk about cars and getting paid and stuff like that a lot. But you know what? All NFL players do. I really don't think the Raiders traded him because they thought he was going to corrupt Damon Arnett. I mean, come on. Yes, Damon Arnett has his past history, and there's no doubt about it. But the guy's a grown-ass man. Lynn Bowden is not going to be, corrupting these guys. I think they can tell him, hey, shut the hell up. Not to mention, like I said, the guy couldn't block anyone. He was getting destroyed in practice. He was getting beat up. So, I mean, unless the guy is just terrible at practice, some people are. That's what they're saying about Carl Nassib, by the way. I mean, that's why you haven't really been hearing his name, because he hasn't been lighting the world on fire out there. Arden Key has been beating out Carl Nassib. Beating him out. So, who knows, Arden Key could be starting, even though they invested a lot of money in the other dude, but still. But they say about him, he shows up on game day. And that's okay. I mean, like the great poet once said, we're talking about practice, man. We're not talking about a real game. We're talking practice. Allen Iverson. So anyways, that's where we're at here. The Raiders traded him. Yes, they look like losers for trading a third-round pick. At the same time, I think maybe they should have given the guy a year, maybe to grow, maybe to learn how to block, but the Raiders just felt like it was never going to happen. But, Tyreek Hill's not blocking that much. They just use him as a gadget player. That's what I thought they would use Bowden as. But apparently, they just thought the guy would end up getting destroyed. And there were a couple times in training camp where it looked like the guy seriously died on the field, where Arden Key took his soul, where Eric Harris completely leveled him. Kwiatkowski actually hit him one time. It didn't look very good. I mean, and the guy was confident in football and muffing punts. That's why he's gone. So anyways, to wrap this all up, the Raiders versus the Panthers, all I can tell you is this, okay? The matchup itself, there are a lot of things that worry me. I'm not going to lie to you. There are a lot of things that worry me. But it's kind of with both teams, to be honest. It really is. There's a lot of young players on defense on both teams. So whoever can take advantage of that will more than likely win this game. If the Raiders can contain Christian McCaffrey so the guy doesn't have 7 touchdowns, if they can control this guy, keep him to hopefully under 100 yards and, not have him score 3 touchdowns. If they can control him with these guys up front, I'm talking about Mo Hurst, I'm talking about Collins, I'm talking about, everyone on that defensive line, to Max Crosby, to Clinton Farrell, who's going to be obviously defensive tackle, to Nassib, to Arden Key, you name it. Everyone who is on that defensive line, they need to win their individual battles, because they need to penetrate and they need to get back there, and they need to get after Teddy Bridgewater, by the way. They need to put pressure on Bridgewater, because if you watch Bridgewater, when does he make the most mistakes? That's another thing I want you to do. Go on YouTube, type in Teddy Bridgewater interceptions. Just type it in, and you might see a montage or something. I'm sure you can find a whole bunch of them. You'll notice something. There's always someone coming from his blind side where he can see from. He actually takes a peek at and gets nervous. He moves his left foot straight, and then he steps in and throws a pick and usually gets hit. He obviously fears that pressure. He can feel the pressure, and he doesn't want to be hit. It is very obvious. Yes, the guy will take off and run sometimes, but he's not really a scrambling quarterback. You can get after Teddy Bridgewater. The Raiders think they got better pass rush this season. It's time to put it on the field. Because if they can do that, if they can get pass rush against Carolina and contain McCaffrey, I have no doubt the Raiders are going to light up Carolina. I have no doubt. But it goes the opposite way as well. If Carolina's defense is just destroying Derek Carr, and Derek Carr has no time to throw, that's usually when Derek Carr makes bad decisions. If the linebackers are confused, and remember they have Tahir Whitehead, he knows Derek Carr, he knows, hey, a lot of fake linebacker blitzes, you can be the biggest Derek Carr supporter in the world, but you can't deny it. If you watch film, you see Derek Carr always panics when those linebackers are, running around out there, move little adjustments, fake blitzes, moving out. He's always taking time. Look at the play clock every single time as well. Sometimes he does get delay of game. Other time he gets the ball off at 1 second. So that messes with his mind. He doesn't know if the linebackers are coming or going. Gets a little nervous about it, and then he makes a mistake. We've seen it last year against Minnesota. They kept doing it to the guy over and over again. Go ahead and watch the game if you don't believe me. Go watch it all. Watch it. I'm telling you guys this because I analyze football. I've been doing this since I've been 9, 10 years old. Okay? I'm not just making this up because I'm a Derek Carr hater. I want Derek Carr to succeed. And I think he can succeed. I think Derek Carr can have a fantastic season with the weapons he has. With the loss of Tyrell Williams, I don't think it will be a big deal if Bryan Edwards can play as good as he's been playing in training camp. Because if he plays as good as he's been playing in training camp, and that translates on Sundays, we won't be talking about Henry Ruggs at the end of the season. We will be talking about Bryan Edwards winning Rookie of the Year. That's how good that guy has looked in training camp. But we don't know, because that's practice. We will know Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time how good this team is going to be. At least get a little glimpse. You can't really tell after one game, but at least we'll know, where they're at as far as individual play. Now, I guess I got to give a prediction. I don't usually do predictions on week 1 because it's stupid, because there's always upsets. Like I said, crazy shit happens, crazy stuff happens. So, but I will say this. I'm going to take the Raiders to go into Carolina and win this football game. I think Josh Jacobs is just too powerful. I do think Christian McCaffrey might be a little bit of a problem. I do think Robbie Anderson is going to beat the secondary a few times. And like I said before, DJ Moore scares me as well. So I think they will have some success throwing the football. And I think the screens will eventually open up for Carolina. I think the Raiders will jump off to an early lead, and they will hold on to that lead, and they win this game 27-21. That is just, I'm just going to let you know, I don't even feel comfortable giving that prediction because I hate doing week 1 predictions. They're meaningless. I'm basing this off of the players, basically. You know what I mean? So I'm just letting you guys know. But we shall see. I will talk to you guys next week, and we'll recap the show, and I will also preview the show. No instant reaction shows for the Raiders Daily Public podcast. That is only on the Raiders Daily Elite. And also, if you play fantasy football, make sure to download the Thrive app. That's right, the Thrive app, and type in the promo code, the Raiders Daily, and you will get $20. You'll get $20 to play your fantasy football. So, I'm telling you right now, and I had people try it. Be honest with you, I'm not much of a fantasy football person. I don't even really know how it works. So, I had my friend try it here, and he loves it. Now, his whole league it's called Thrive. It's on all the apps. It's on Apple, every app store. But it's really good because it tells you what players are actually playing. It doesn't, give you some no-name guy who's on a practice squad. So, if you're playing a fantasy football with 17 people, no one picks a guy who, is never going to play. It just gives you you can just go for the top players. It's really, really good. It's really, really good. And once again, if you sign up right now. It's called Thrive, Thrive. It's in the App Store, fantasy football. They even have prop bets on there too. So listen, in the promo code, type in The Raiders Daily, all together, by the way, no spaces. The Raiders Daily, all together, no spaces. You get $20 off. You get $20 credit. You might as well. Literally, you can just might as well. So go ahead and try that. My name is Stephen Michaels. Let's hope John Gruden and Derek Carr and this team can do what I've been preaching for years now. And let's just do it. Let's make Raiders great again. I came up with it, and I'm still going to say it until we get there. I will see you guys later. I will see you next week. Let's go beat the Carolina Panthers.